I bought a 7-credit armored spaceship nobody wanted. It hid a shocking secret. Jace Moran wiped the sweat from his forehead as he trudged through the crowded black market of Ravel. 3. The planet's surface was a mixture of dust, metal scraps, and the faint smell of burnt fuel. Traders shouted their prices, arguing over old spaceship parts and salvageable engines. Jace's boots crunched over broken panels and loose wiring, but he didn't mind. To him, this chaos was home. He was small for his age, thin but fast, with hands always stained with grease. He had spent most of his life fixing old ships that nobody wanted or scavenging parts to survive. Money was rare, and he had only 7 credits to his name, hardly enough to buy a decent fuel cell, let alone a spaceship. That was when he saw it. At the edge of the market, sitting almost forgotten under a torn tarp, was a small, armored ship. Its metal hull was scratched and dented, the paint almost entirely faded. Its engines were old, and a thin layer of dust covered its cockpit. Most buyers passed by without even glancing at it. Some muttered warnings, others just shook their heads. Nobody wants it. The old seller shrugged when Jace approached. The systems hum at odd frequencies. Some say it's haunted. Some say it listens. Jace's brow furrowed. Listens? The man chuckled dryly. This ship talks sometimes. Or at least it pretends to. Best to leave it alone. Chasing brighter, shinier vessels. But Jace felt a strange pull toward the battered ship. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe desperation. Either way, he knew it was his only chance. 7 credits? Jace said quietly, counting his money. The old man raised an eyebrow. Exactly. Take it or leave it. Jace hesitated only a moment before handing over his credits. For a ship, even in this condition, 7 credits was a steal. The man didn't argue. He just handed over the keys. Jace climbed into the cockpit, his fingers brushing over buttons and switches that looked decades old. The seat creaked under him, but surprisingly, it didn't feel fragile. He ran a quick diagnostic, expecting to find broken systems everywhere. Instead, the screens flickered to life, lights blinking in strange patterns. It was alive, not in the way humans were alive, of course, but there was something inside it. A pulse, a rhythm, almost like it had a heartbeat. He frowned, adjusting a few dials. Nothing dangerous happened, just a faint hum, like the ship was settling in for the first time in years. Jace smiled. Well, old girl, let's see what you can do. The ship was slow at first. The engines coughed and sputtered, and the hull rattled as he took off from the black market platform. Dust and debris swirled behind him as he navigated through the crowded skyways. People below stared, some laughing, others pointing at the strange little ship that shouldn't have flown. Once he was in open space, Jace activated the ship's main console. He began checking systems, noting which engines worked, which navigation tools were offline, and which buttons were completely unmarked. As he probed deeper, he found a hidden access panel tucked beneath the main controls. It wasn't labeled, it wasn't listed in any manuals. When he opened it, a screen flickered to life, displaying encrypted logs. Jace's eyes widened. These weren't just ship logs. These were something else. Files that spoke of experiments, unknown coordinates, and warnings. The words "do not follow" appeared repeatedly. Some files were flagged with strange symbols he didn't recognize. His heart raced. What the hell is this ship hiding? As he leaned closer, the cockpit lights flickered, and the ship's hum grew louder, almost like it was watching him. For a brief moment, Jace felt a shiver run down his spine. He shook it off. Just a coincidence. Probably a power fluctuation, he muttered to himself, but deep down, he knew better. That night, after parking the ship in an abandoned hangar on the outskirts of Ravel, 3's main city, Jace tried to rest. He lay on the floor, staring at the cracked ceiling. His mind kept drifting back to the logs. Who had built this ship? Why had nobody wanted it? And why did it feel like the ship knew him? Around midnight, he woke to a strange sound, a soft whirring, almost like breathing. The cockpit lights were on. The encrypted logs were active. And then the ship spoke. Not with words. Not yet. but through vibrations, through a faint energy pulse, a presence that filled the small hangar. Jace froze. "Who are you?" he whispered. The hum intensified, almost as if the ship were responding to his question. He reached for the controls, his hands trembling, and the main screen flickered. Letters slowly appeared. "Sentinel. Sentinel?" he repeated aloud. Is that your name?" The ship pulsed again. Not threatening. Not hostile. Just aware. For hours, he tried to interact with it, pressing buttons, speaking softly. The ship seemed to learn, adjusting its systems, its lights, its energy output in response to his presence. It wasn't just a ship. It was intelligent. By dawn, Jace had barely slept. His mind raced with possibilities. If this ship was intelligent, and if the logs were true, then he had just stumbled upon something nobody in the galaxy wanted, but that someone might have killed to hide. He decided to check the logs again, despite his exhaustion. As he decoded more, he realized that some of the files contained coordinates to distant star systems. And, buried deep inside, he found references to a hidden archive, a place humans had built long ago to store lost knowledge and technology. His heart pounded. "What is this? What did humans hide?" he whispered. Before he could investigate further, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashed across the console. A message scrolled across the screen in bold, capital letters. "Ignal detected. 4 Ignal presence approaching." He had no weapons, no shields, only the armored shell of this strange ship. The hum grew louder, almost as if Sentinel were aware of the danger before he could even see it. Outside the hangar, tiny lights appeared, fast-moving, precise. Alien ships. Jace's stomach twisted. He had no idea why they were here, but he knew one thing. They weren't here to trade. Sentinel pulsed again, this time in a pattern that almost felt like reassurance. Jace gritted his teeth. "All right, old girl. Let's see what you've got." The ship's engines roared to life, stronger than they had the day before. Panels shifted, forming makeshift armor, covering vulnerable systems. Jace barely understood how it worked. It felt as if the ship knew how to defend itself. With a sudden jolt, they shot out of the hangar, dodging the incoming alien scouts. The city below blurred past. Dust and debris swirled around the tiny ship as Jace pushed it harder than ever before. Even though the odds were against him, even though he had 7 credits and a ship nobody wanted, Jace felt a surge of hope. He wasn't just a scavenger anymore. He had something powerful, alive, and human-made, and deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. Because the ship wasn't ordinary, the logs weren't ordinary, and the aliens were just the first hint of a galaxy that was far bigger and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. As Ravel, Jace stared into the endless darkness of space. His voice was barely a whisper. "Whatever secrets you hold, we'll find them. Together." Sentinel pulsed again, softly, as if acknowledging his words. And, somewhere deep inside, Jace felt it. The spark of something human. Something unstoppable. Something that would make the galaxy take notice of humanity again. The stars stretched endlessly before Jace Morin as his tiny armored ship, Sentinel, tore through space. Ravel, 3, was now a speck behind him, the chaos of the black market fading into distance. But the sense of unease had not left him. He could still feel it, the subtle pulse of the ship, alive in ways he barely understood. "All right, Sentinel," he muttered, fingers flying over the controls. "Let's figure out what you really are." For hours, he studied the encrypted logs hidden deep within the ship. Most of the files were unreadable, but slowly, patterns began to emerge. The ship had once belonged to a secret human project, long erased from official records. It wasn't just a scout or a fighter. It was designed to protect knowledge. Files mentioned human archives, lost technology, and warnings about alien interest. As Jace pieced the fragments together, he realized the truth. Humans had hidden their greatest inventions and records across the galaxy, and this ship had been created to guard them. His eyes widened. All this time, humans had secrets? Secrets big enough to make aliens chase them? A sudden jolt shook the cockpit. The ship's lights flickered. On the main display, a new warning appeared. Unknown signal detected. Potential hostile presence. Jace's heart raced. He wasn't alone. Some alien ship had picked up Sentinel's signal. Or maybe the hidden archives themselves had been broadcasting silently, waiting to be discovered. "Show me what you've got," Jace whispered, hands steady on the controls. The ship pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. Then, a new feature activated. The navigation console displayed a faint map of nearby sectors with blinking red dots approaching fast. Jace leaned closer. Alien ships. Not one, not two, but dozens, each moving with terrifying precision, tracking him through the void. "They're fast," he muttered, "and they know exactly where we are." Sentinel hummed softly, a comforting vibration that seemed almost human. Jace realized that the ship wasn't just a tool, it was a partner. Every minor adjustment, every evasive maneuver, felt as if Sentinel anticipated his thoughts. Jace's mind raced. "We need a plan. We can't outrun them all." He studied the ship's panels. Despite its old age, Sentinel had unique armor configurations. Panels shifted automatically to protect vital systems. Shields were weak, but they were adaptive, capable of diverting energy and impact. Jace smiled grimly. "We fight smart, not strong." Tiny specks in the distance grew into sleek, dark shapes with glowing weapons. They surrounded him, a net tightening across the stars. Jace's fingers flew over the controls. He couldn't match them in speed or firepower, but he could think faster. Using a combination of evasive maneuvers, engine bursts, and the ship's strange adaptive systems, Jace danced through the alien attack. One ship attempted to fire a plasma beam, but Sentinel's armor shifted, absorbing the strike and redirecting its energy. Another tried to flank him, but he anticipated its path, weaving between debris fields and asteroid fragments. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Jace couldn't tell. Space seemed to stretch and compress around him, every second filled with tension. And then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, the alien ships pulled back. "They're not giving up," Jace muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "They'll be back." Then, a new file appeared on the screen. Decrypted this time, coordinates to a hidden human archive in a distant system. Alongside the coordinates, a message scrolled. "Warning, keep secret. Humans must survive. Do not reveal until ready." Jace's heart pounded. The ship wasn't just hiding something. It was guarding the greatest treasures of humanity. Lost technologies, knowledge, possibly even weapons, long thought extinct. He realized something else. He couldn't keep this to himself. If aliens were tracking Sentinel, the secret of humanity's hidden power was at risk, but sharing it openly would be dangerous. As he pondered his options, a voice-like vibration hummed through the cockpit. Not words, but intent. Sentinel was communicating. It was cautious, urging patience. Jace smiled faintly. "Patience, huh? I guess that's a human thing too." He plotted a course toward the archive coordinates. The system was far away, deep in uncharted space, but it was their only chance. Along the way, he began experimenting with Sentinel's capabilities. He discovered hidden compartments containing ancient human tools, some even powered by unknown energy sources, weapons designed for defense, not destruction, and devices that could cloak the ship almost entirely. Jace realized humans had once been more than survivalists. They had been masters of the stars. And this small, discarded ship was proof. Days passed as he traveled. Along the way, he encountered abandoned stations and derelict ships. Each one seemed ordinary until he scanned it. Hidden inside were logs, devices, and artifacts of a long-lost human civilization. Sentinels, like his ship, had been scattered across the galaxy, each one guarding pieces of the puzzle. Jace felt a thrill. He was piecing together the story of humanity, one discovery at a time, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he was part of something bigger than survival. But danger was never far away. The alien fleet was relentless. They seemed to anticipate his every move, adapting faster than Jace could. One day, while navigating a dense asteroid belt, a ship broke through his defenses. Jace barely had time to react. Sentinel's armor shifted automatically, but the attack damaged part of the navigation system. The ship jolted violently, throwing Jace against the console. Pain shot through his ribs, but he gritted his teeth. "Not today," he whispered. Using quick thinking, he activated a hidden thruster array. The ship lurched forward, narrowly avoiding another blast. The aliens weren't expecting this. He spun the ship through the asteroid belt like a dancer, weaving between rocks, using debris as cover. Hours later, he emerged, battered but alive. The alien ships had given up, for now. Jace took a deep breath, realizing that humans could survive when they used brains, not just brawn. That night, he accessed the decrypted logs again. There, buried deep, was something new. A message that chilled him. The archives contain more than knowledge. They contain the key to human survival, and to the power that others will kill to obtain. Jace leaned back, staring at the endless stars. He realized he was no longer just a scavenger. He was a guardian, responsible for secrets that could change the galaxy. And yet, a small voice inside him whispered fear. Could he handle this responsibility? Could he survive what was coming? The answer came almost immediately. A new signal appeared on the console. Not from the aliens he had already evaded, but from somewhere else. Something bigger. Something older. Sentinel pulsed urgently, and Jace felt it in his chest. The ship was warning him. "We're not alone," he murmured. As he set a new course toward the archive, Jace couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was watching him. Every jump, every move brought new dangers, but also new discoveries. By the time he fell asleep in the small cockpit, exhausted, one thought kept running through his mind. Humans may have been small, scattered, and forgotten, but with courage, intelligence, and a ship like Sentinel, they could outsmart anyone, even an alien fleet. And somewhere deep in space, the secrets of humanity waited, hidden in darkness, ready to be claimed. Jace closed his eyes. Tomorrow, the journey would get even harder. But for the first time, he felt hope, power, and the spark of something greater than himself. Because Sentinel was more than a ship, and he was more than a scavenger. Together, they were the last line of defense for humanity's greatest secret, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Jace Moran gritted his teeth as Sentinel hurtled through the void. The alien fleet he had evaded once before was not gone. They were relentless, recalculating, adapting to every move he made. But Jace knew something they didn't. They could measure speed and firepower, but they couldn't measure human unpredictability. He leaned over the controls, watching blinking red markers on the navigation screen. The hidden archive was close now, buried in a remote asteroid system beyond the mapped sectors of the galaxy. Its location had been kept secret for centuries. If he reached it, humanity's lost knowledge and technology could finally be reclaimed. But first, he had to survive the aliens. "They're faster, stronger, and more organized," he muttered. "But they don't have this." He tapped the side of his head. "Brains." Sentinel pulsed at his words, almost in agreement. Its hum filled the cockpit, a comforting presence that reminded him the ship was more than metal. It thought, adapted, and protected. The alien fleet appeared on the horizon like a dark storm. Sleek, black ships with glowing energy cores closed in, forming a deadly net. Jace's chest tightened. He had no weapons that could match theirs in a direct fight, but he had Sentinel's quirks, shields that could shift dynamically, hidden thrusters, and the ship's ability to react faster than any human or alien could anticipate. "Time to think differently," he muttered. Jace programmed Sentinel to emit a series of false energy signals, scattering the fleet into multiple paths. Some ships took the bait, chasing phantom targets, while others hesitated, unsure which signature was real. Using the distraction, Jace darted toward an asteroid belt nearby. The jagged rocks created a natural maze. The aliens had no experience navigating it at such speed. But Sentinel did. With every twist and turn, the ship's armor shifted to absorb impacts from debris. Sensors picked up every minor movement, every pressure change in the asteroid field. Jace felt almost as if the ship were alive, guiding him with instinct. Hours passed. He dodged plasma blasts, outsmarted flanking maneuvers, and narrowly avoided collisions that would have shredded a normal ship. Exhaustion gnawed at him, but Jace refused to stop. Finally, the last wave of pursuing ships fell behind, disoriented and damaged. Jace exhaled deeply. "Not bad for a scavenger," he said with a faint smile. Sentinel hummed back, steady and reassuring, but there was no time to celebrate. Ahead of him lay the hidden archive, a massive structure cloaked behind a field of dense asteroids and debris. Sensors showed energy signatures unlike anything he had seen before. It was ancient, powerful, and still alive in its own way. As he approached, he activated the ship's hidden thrusters to carefully maneuver through the debris. He had no idea what would happen inside the archive, but instinct told him that humans had left more than knowledge. They had left defense mechanisms. The entryway opened automatically as Sentinel approached, recognizing the ship as a guardian. Inside, Jace saw rows of ancient consoles, storage units, and vessels, technology humans had lost centuries ago. Some devices glowed faintly with energy, others hummed with encoded intelligence. Jace walked cautiously through the archive, marveling at what he found. Weapons that could bend energy, shields that could withstand entire fleets, and AI cores capable of strategic calculations far beyond what current humans could manage. This is insane," he whispered. "Humans were amazing once. Why did we lose all this?" Sentinel pulsed as if answering him. Its hum seemed to echo through the massive chamber. Humans had scattered, forgotten, or destroyed much of their own power in fear. But now, the knowledge was waiting for someone clever enough to reclaim it. Jace began examining the archives systematically. He discovered a weapon system powered by compressed plasma, capable of precise defensive strikes. Nearby, he found navigation algorithms that could plot courses faster than any modern computer. But the most striking discovery was a series of ancient AI cores, each labeled with cryptic names: Strategist, Protector, Sentinel Prototype. His mind raced. If these were activated, humans could potentially outthink any alien force, even those far superior in technology. But first, he needed to understand them. And he had no time. The alien fleet had surely tracked him this far. As if on cue, alarms blared on Sentinel. Sensors detected incoming ships, far more numerous than before. They weren't just here to chase, they were here to take the archive. Jace's heart pounded. He had to act fast. He activated a defensive field around the archive entrance, a system that had lain dormant for centuries. Shielded walls rose from the asteroid rock, and energy turrets hummed to life, but the fleet wasn't deterred. They fired anyway. Plasma blasts struck the shields, causing bright flashes and vibrations that rattled the ship. Jace adjusted Sentinel's armor, letting the ship absorb and redirect some of the energy. Using the archive's defenses as cover, he maneuvered his ship into position. Then, he did something unexpected. He faked a retreat, drawing the alien ships into the narrow asteroid corridor he had passed earlier. The fleet pursued eagerly, assuming the human was cornered. But Jace had anticipated this. Using the AI cores in the archive, he activated ancient drones, small autonomous ships capable of rapid maneuvers. They darted between the pursuing aliens, creating confusion and forcing them to fire at false targets. Jace felt a thrill. Humans were small, scattered, and underestimated, but with intelligence and creativity, they could turn the tide of any battle. Minutes turned into an intense chase. The alien ships, superior in firepower, struggled against unpredictable strategies. Some collided with asteroids, others were forced to retreat temporarily to avoid collisions. Finally, the remaining alien ships broke off their attack, leaving the immediate area. Jace exhaled, sweat and adrenaline mixing in a heady rush. He had survived against impossible odds, and in the process, he had activated the power humans had hidden for centuries. He hovered above the archive, studying its systems. Sentinel pulsed with excitement, almost vibrating with energy. It was as if the ship knew that Jace had proven humanity's greatest advantage: imagination, adaptability, and courage. But the victory was bittersweet. The logs in the archive revealed a deeper truth. The alien fleet was just one of many threats. The human outposts, scattered across the galaxy, had been designed to protect knowledge, yes, but they had also been isolated for a reason. If the secrets were revealed too soon, humanity could face enemies far more powerful than the fleet he had just evaded. Jace leaned back in the cockpit. The hum of Sentinel filled the archive chamber. "So, "It's not just about surviving," he murmured. "It's about knowing when to fight, when to hide, and how to use what humans left behind." He began activating the AI cores. One by one, they powered on, their lights flickering as ancient intelligence came alive. The first, Strategist, ran simulations in seconds, mapping alien fleets, potential threats, and escape routes. Protector interfaced with Sentinel, enhancing the ship's defenses far beyond anything Jace could manually achieve. He realized that humanity had not been weak. They had been careful, patient, and intelligent. And now, he was learning their ways. As night fell over the distant asteroid system, Jace finally allowed himself a moment of rest. Sentinel hummed softly, its lights dimmed to a comfortable glow, and the archive pulsed quietly with dormant power. He knew the journey was far from over. The alien fleet had retreated, but others would come. The galaxy was watching, waiting, testing humanity's strength. And yet, for the first time, Jace felt a surge of confidence. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, dismissed as fragile, disorganized, and weak. But intelligence, courage, and adaptability, qualities no alien technology could measure, gave humans an edge no enemy could predict. He whispered into the quiet cockpit, "We may be small, Sentinel, but we're clever. And clever is powerful." Sentinel pulsed softly, like an affirmation. Jace smiled faintly. Humanity was ready to rise again, starting with him. As he prepared to explore the archive further, Jace noticed something that made his blood run cold. One of the AI cores flickered differently. It wasn't just processing data. It was aware of someone else approaching. Someone or something that the ancient logs had not mentioned. Jace's hands tightened on the controls. He had survived alien fleets, navigated deadly asteroid fields, and activated long-lost human technology. But this felt different. He didn't know what was coming. But he knew one thing. Humans had a way of surviving, even when the odds seemed impossible. And this time, the stakes were higher than ever. Jace Morn felt the tension in his chest tighten as Sentinel hovered over the ancient human archive. The ship's hum vibrated softly through the cockpit, a reminder that it wasn't just a machine. It was alive, aware, and ready. The AI cores he had activated in the previous days pulsed with energy, analyzing the galaxy, plotting defense systems, and preparing for threats he couldn't yet see. He had survived alien fleets, navigated deadly asteroid fields, and unlocked technology long forgotten by humanity. But now, the warning he had sensed earlier had grown stronger. Something, or someone, was approaching. On the navigation display, a blip appeared. It wasn't like the alien fleet he had evaded before. It was larger, moving silently through the void, with a presence that radiated power. Jace swallowed hard. He had never seen technology like this. It wasn't just advanced, it was ancient, and it was heading straight for the archive. "Sentinel," he said, his voice steady despite the tension. "Get ready. We don't know what we're up against." The ship hummed, lights shifting in an almost nervous rhythm. It had defended humans before, but even it seemed to recognize the gravity of this approaching threat. As the ship drew closer, Jace scanned the incoming vessel. It was massive, sleek, black, with no markings, no signs of life. But the sensors showed something terrifying. It could disable ships without touching them. Its presence alone interfered with Sentinel's energy systems. Jace's mind raced. He had never faced anything like this. If he failed, the entire human archive, and the secrets it contained, would be lost forever. But as fear rose, a familiar spark ignited within him: human ingenuity. He had survived impossible odds before. He had outsmarted alien fleets, used ancient AI, and reclaimed humanity's lost power. He could do it again. He activated the AI cores fully, linking Sentinel with Strategist and Protector. Streams of data flowed across the cockpit displays, mapping attack strategies, weaknesses in the approaching vessel, and possible escape routes. "Let's see what humans can really do," he muttered. The approaching ship unleashed a pulse of energy, shaking the archive. Jace gritted his teeth, guiding Sentinel into a protective position. The shields around the archive flared, absorbing the brunt of the attack. The AI drones, activated earlier, darted out to intercept, their small forms weaving around the massive intruder. But the threat was overwhelming. Each drone that fired was neutralized instantly. The massive ship seemed almost invincible. Jace knew brute force would not win this battle. Humans had always survived through brains, creativity, and unpredictability, not sheer power. What could he do? Then, an idea struck him. The archive wasn't just storage. It was a network, a living, intelligent network. The human AI cores weren't just reactive, they were capable of independent strategy. Jace linked all of Sentinel's systems with the archive's core AI. Lights flickered across the chamber as energy flowed through hidden conduits, powering dormant defense systems and reactivating long-forgotten technologies. The hum grew louder, almost like the archive itself was awakening. The massive vessel fired again, and this time, its attack hit a grid of human defenses that had been lying dormant for centuries. Energy barriers formed, beams of light crisscrossing to create traps. Automated drones armed with ancient weaponry launched, striking precise points on the ship. Jace smiled. Brains went over brawn. The alien vessel faltered. Its movements became slower, unsure. The humans had survived because no enemy could predict their ingenuity. Jace had learned the same lesson the ancient humans had understood. Thinking, adapting, and using what others ignored was humanity's greatest weapon. But the battle wasn't over. The ship retaliated with a massive pulse aimed at Sentinel directly. Jace knew it would destroy him if it hit. He activated the last hidden system, a cloaking mechanism buried deep in Sentinel's design. The ship shimmered and disappeared from sensors, a ghost in the void. Using this advantage, he maneuvered around the alien vessel. Then, with a precise strike calculated by strategist Sentinel, triggered a series of ancient weapon arrays from the archive. Energy beams, once silent for centuries, now lashed out, striking weak points on the intruder. The massive ship convulsed under the assault. Its shields faltered. Then, with a final surge, it retreated, vanishing into the darkness of space. Jace exhaled, leaning back in his seat. His chest ached from adrenaline, but a smile broke across his face. Humanity had survived. Again, he looked around the archive. Rows of consoles, storage units, and vessels hummed softly, alive and waiting. The secrets they held were no longer lost. Humanity's ingenuity, creativity, and resilience had proven themselves once more. But the victory was not just for him. It was a reminder of what humans were capable of. They had survived countless threats in the past, built civilizations, lost them, and now had the opportunity to rise again. Jace activated the final AI core, labeled Sentinel Prototype. The screen lit up, revealing star maps, advanced technology schematics, and records of human civilization's greatest achievements. For the first time, Jace saw the full scope of human history. Lost colonies, powerful inventions, and strategies that had once dominated the galaxy. His mind reeled. Humans were not weak, as many thought. They had been forgotten, scattered, and underestimated, but their greatest strength had always been in their ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to survive against impossible odds. He realized something profound. Humanity's real power wasn't weapons, ships, or technology. It was them. The people, their ingenuity, their courage, and their resilience. Jace spent hours exploring the archive, activating systems, and understanding the technology. He saw records of AI that could predict outcomes, shields that could withstand entire fleets, and weapons that could incapacitate without killing. But more importantly, he saw strategies, philosophies, and plans that showed humans had always used intelligence over aggression. Finally, he knew what he had to do. The secrets of the archive could not remain hidden forever. But he also knew that revealing them recklessly could invite destruction. He needed a plan that balanced caution with action. He turned to Sentinel. "We've survived this far, old girl. Now, it's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." The ship pulsed softly in response, as if agreeing. Jace activated a secure transmission, broadcasting a controlled message to nearby human colonies. The message revealed the existence of the archive, the technology, and the strategy of survival, but not the full extent of humanity's power. It was enough to inspire hope, to remind humans that they were clever, capable, and resilient. The response was immediate. Colonies lit up with excitement, curiosity, and determination. Humans across sectors began preparing, sharing knowledge, and reactivating lost systems. And somewhere in the galaxy, the alien fleets noticed. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were reconsidering their approach. Humans were not weak, scattered, or disorganized. They were unpredictable, intelligent, and resilient beyond measure. Jace leaned back, watching the stars. Sentinel hummed beside him, the pulse of its energy matching his own heartbeat. Humanity's secret was safe, for now. But more importantly, humans were awake again. The archive, once silent and forgotten, had become a beacon of human strength. And Jace knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would remember humans not as scavengers or victims, but as a species capable of survival, creativity, and brilliance. Jace whispered into the quiet cockpit, "We may have been small once, but we're not anymore. We'll survive. And the galaxy will know humans are not to be underestimated." Sentinel pulsed in agreement. Together, they were the spark of humanity's return. And far beyond the stars, in distant sectors, other ships like Sentinel stirred. The ancient guardians of humanity's legacy were waking, ready to support the humans who had survived against all odds. Jace smiled, feeling the weight of history and the power of the present. The galaxy had challenged humanity for centuries. And now, for the first time in a long time, humans were ready to meet that challenge head-on. Because humans had always survived and always adapted. And with courage, creativity, and resilience, they would shape the future of the stars. As Jace set the course for the next undiscovered sector, he knew one thing. This was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. A chapter where humans no longer hid in the shadows, but shone brightly across the galaxy, guided by ingenuity, bravery, and the relentless spark that made them who they were. The galaxy was wide, the threats were many, and the challenges were endless. But humanity had one advantage no one could match: them. And that advantage would never be defeated.